If you enjoy the content of Geeks for Fun, be sure to check out our new original audio drama, Batman: Echoes of the Night. Links to watch it will be in the description and the pinned comment. Enjoy!
Kakarot was gone. The winds of Metropolis had remained stagnant without their champion. The skies had lost their flow, their rhythm, their joy. People didn't look up at a smiling warrior anymore, for good or ill. They simply continued their lives, moving with something missing in their hearts. The world had a tough relationship with Kakarot Kent, but in his absence, a greater appreciation from a small few began to rise. Yet, compared to the deeds of Batman, Wonder Woman, and Superman, the majority simply moved on from thinking about Kakarot Kent, focusing on those heroes, especially the campaign of Superman. Lois Lane, however, was not so accepting of Luthor's popularity.
Chief, I spent a week on the docks with rats and fritzed hair, exposing the biggest gathering of supervillains to hit this town in 10 years. And what makes the front page? Some scrummy, granola-crunching fluff piece on Luthor winning a debate. Again!
Supervillain team-ups aren't news anymore, Lois. It's as run down as the Giants. We've seen leagues, gangs, more times than I can count. This Luthor campaign is what the people want to know about.
Not like this. Sure, team-ups from a bunch of psychos and fetish wear got all the first week they tried it, but this is organized. When I called the League to shut them down, they couldn't grab a single one. You're telling me Atomic Skull can plan how to escape the Flash on his own?
You think they're making a move since he's gone?
Maybe? He was always our resident spiky-haired deterrent.
Alright. Keep looking into it. But we're still focusing on Luthor. That's what's selling. And I'll let me afford you running off to the docks and alleyways all the time.
I have to, Chief. He's not here, and so someone's got to look after this city, no matter how long it takes.
Elsewhere, a cold breeze came over the fallen Saiyan, causing his tired body to slowly come back to consciousness.
Where am I?
As he opened his eyes, Kakarot was taken aback by the beauty of his surroundings. Diverse plant life enveloped him, all of them blowing to the tune of the wind in a rhythmic fashion. Light from the sun beamed onto him, causing the Saiyan to fully shake out of his tired state.
This place is beautiful.
The Saiyan stood up, smiling at the new surroundings, until a terrible realization popped into his head, staring at this heavenly view.
No crap! Maybe I really did die!
Kakarot ran around frantically, fear overtaking his judgment. His battle to the death with Rogol on an exploding planet was an impossible situation to escape from, and now he was surrounded by what seemed to be paradise. The martial artist decided to pinch himself to test this theory.
Yow! Well, I don't feel dead. I guess I managed to pull off Kendra's trick after all.
The Super Saiyan had been in a hopeless situation, with no way out. The legendary power he held would ensure he could survive the explosion, but the vacuum of space was another problem entirely. He refused to die there, not by such a cowardly tactic, and so, as his brain ran through every instance it could, he remembered what Kendra had managed to achieve to get here. Her energy that allowed her to teleport was from the emotional spectrum, powered by the feelings of the soul. So was he, in a manner of speaking. The concepts weren't mutually exclusive. It was all powered by the strength within. Only her entity knew how to harness it properly. Were it anyone else, and had he not been given the strength of myth, it would have never worked. Yeah, he was Kakarot Kent, and in the fires of a doomed planet, for the second time that day, he broke through his limits.
Master I Ching always did say I managed to pick up things easier than others. But boy, am I hungry!
With some of his worries alleviated, Kakarot began to search the planet for any food he could. Alien plant and wildlife wasn't concerning to the Saiyan. If anything, they provided something new to try out. The next few days were spent spitting out poisonous berries, shrieking from acid water, and failing to capture game that could turn invisible on a dime, even to his key sensing powers. His energy was already drained, and without any food to replenish himself, Kakarot began to feel weaker with every step. As even though he had survived the last-ditch revenge of the Tuffles, he might end up starving to death.
Come on! This was never this hard on Earth! I don't know what I'm doing wrong!
As his frustrations grew, he felt a spark at the back of his neck. The same spark he felt rise in his battle with Robozar. The power of the Super Saiyan, dormant, waiting to be unleashed.
Maybe that could make me feel better. Stronger. Let me catch those creatures.
As quickly as the thought came, Kakarot let it pass, sitting down in a meditative stance and ignoring the hunger that was tearing him up inside.
Nah, I don't need to rely on something like that. I'll figure it out. Eventually. This planet is not so bad once you get used to it.
You do not desire the power of the Super Saiyan, and yet that is why you are worthy of possessing it.
Kakarot quickly turned to see where the voice was coming from, but there was nothing around him save for the usual wild scenery.
Hi? Is someone there?
Yes.
The Saiyan was extremely freaked out by what seemed to be an ethereal voice all around him at once. He focused his senses, but he was far too tired to concentrate properly. Everything just felt like one planet-wide expanse of energy. Nothing could be individually distinguished. All he felt was life.
You are confused by my seeming lack of presence, but I am right in front of you, young one.
Uh-huh. Oh, I get it now.
Kakarot, with a joy in his step, approached a large tree, before shaking one of the branches as if it were a hand.
Nice to meet you. I'm Kakarot Kent. I never met a tree that could talk before.
The voice laughed, shaking the ground around Kakarot, the wind circling in time to its cadence.
You are not incorrect. I am the tree you see, but that is but a part of me. I am the earth, I am the wind, and I am the fire. I am the very planet you stand upon, and I am a member of the Green Lantern Corps. I am Mogo.
Mogo? I'm really sorry for crashing here without asking.
Worry not. I must apologize for the conditions I put you through. This was my way of ensuring your intentions were pure. A Saiyan has never tread upon me before, but tales of their dark deeds over the centuries have reached as far as my shores.
So, you know what the deal is with this Super Saiyan thing?
I believe we can find that out together.
From that moment on, Mogo and Kakarot would become master and student. the Green Lantern had full control over their environment, and was able to provide Kakarot with drinkable water and fresh produce. The animals for meat, however, would be up to Kakarot to hunt. He could not sense them in the way he normally did, but through Mogo's help, Kakarot learned how to feel even deeper, the Green Lantern explaining how they drew upon its power to create constructs, allowing the martial artist to expand his current knowledge of Ki beyond anything he could imagine. Since becoming a Super Saiyan, it was as if the barrier in his mind had been shattered, and new knowledge was able to be interpreted in a fresh way. After learning to hunt successfully, Kakarot began to worry he was taking too much from the planet due to his extreme eating habits. But Mogo viewed the situation very differently.
Focus your mind on the creature, resting on that leaf.
The one that looks kinda like a caterpillar?
Sure. It is born on the leaf. It devours the leaf. And yet the leaf is fine. The plant is fine.
Huh. I guess you've got a point.
Be not ashamed of your biology. Every part of us serves a purpose. Our environment is formed around us, and we are formed by our environment. Life makes no accidents.
So this power I've got, I shouldn't view it as a cheat. It's part of me in a way that even my Ozaru wasn't. I ain't sure how to describe it, but it always felt like I was being corrupted by its anger. Super Saiyan feels like I'm the one corrupting it.
You have only been able to transform by remembering the death of your friend. It is a reasonable response. Go now. Transform.
Kakarot closed his eyes, images flashing in his mind. Pain, rage, sadness, his friend, helplessness, fear, too weak, anger, pain, anger, pain, anger. The Super Saiyan stood proudly, his power illuminating the sky in a golden hue.
Right now I feel like I could do anything. I don't know if there's anything higher left for me to reach.
Perhaps there is not. What then? What would the purpose of Kakarot Kent be, if there is no one left for you to fight?
I don't know.
Meanwhile, on the planet Earth, another group was discussing the impact of Super Saiyan.
It's the eyes, I think. Mercy, what do you think? Too inhuman?
Are my eyes bad?
Note to self. The energy from the form causes the subject to have excess power, bleeding out into its cells, fluorescing through the sodium in its skin and hair, causing a golden light. The amino acids in the eyes producing a blue-green fluorescence.
Father, is that a bad thing? I can try and change it, possibly counteract it with...
Mercy, if you could bring me a range of cosmetic contacts to try on the subject, we might be able to settle on a softer appearance. Though part of me feels the aesthetic of the current image could work on its own. What is it, Superboy? Can't you see I'm very busy right now?
Nothing. I'm sorry to bother you. I'll head back to the lab.
Much time passed on the planet Mogo, and Kakarot continued to train in his Super Saiyan state, thinking of how to tap into the power of teleportation once more, while also trying to find an answer to Mogo's question. He had realized that the emotion fueling the teleportation was love, and in his desire to face new challenges, he must have subconsciously locked onto the immense power of Mogo. The fact that he was so fight-obsessed that this was the thing he truly loved didn't really bother Kakarot, but it did make him wonder how he could get back home if he couldn't sense a power source. Eventually, he decided to not let his thoughts dwell on it. If he was stuck here, at least he had a new friend, and he still wanted to discover more about his Super Saiyan state.
Phew! I'm beat!
It appears that you are not able to fight as a Super Saiyan for nearly as long as your normal state.
Huh? Oh, I never noticed. I am putting a lot of strain on my body. It's getting easier to transform than it was at first. But sometimes I feel my chest start to burn the more I stay in it. I just don't feel like I'm putting out as much power as I could.
Perhaps it is best not to push harder then. Your increased muscles do not serve your frame. The state you are in may be what is natural. No more power is required. Just as a branch that grows too far beyond its tree is sure to snap, so too strain is a sign of danger.
I think you might be right on the strain, but I don't know about the power. I'll think about it. Any bigger and my arms could start looking silly.
They would have similar conversations during the months that followed, Kakarot fully befriending yet another unique master, and Mogo being fascinated by the spunky Saiyan. Mogo helped Kakarot understand the overwhelming amount of power within him, comparing how his Super Saiyan form felt to the many volcanoes that littered Mogo's surface. More so than any other living being could, Mogo was able to teach Kakarot to embrace the Super Saiyan as his truest form of expression, while Kakarot was able to share earthly knowledge on meditation to Mogo, helping the planet pass the long days spiraling in orbit around their sun in deep, spiritual thought. Their friendship was one both would cherish, but at the end of Kakarot's 6 months of training, the Saiyan had finally found an answer to Mogo's question.
Yo, Mo!
Hello, my friend. What troubles you?
I've come about as far as I can here, so I'm gonna try to get back home.
You have people you care deeply for there. But how do you hope to return? I may be able to travel there for you, but I can only get so close to a planet without causing disaster.
Nah, that's alright. I've been able to increase my ki sensing ever since we started training. And there's a huge power right about... that way!
I believe that is the direction of... Warworld. Most dangerous destination.
Oh, really? I had a feeling. Flash said something about a place like that. I wanted to try and teleport there, but I can't quite seem to get it to work. So I gotta ask you for some help on another matter instead. I think if I can get there, I can get a ship the rest of the way home, and maybe test my idea out against that strong energy.
I see. How may I assist your journey then?
Kakarot explained his idea to Mogo, the insanity behind it surprising even a talking planet. But the planet believed in the Saiyan, and trusted that it would work.
Well, this is it, Mo. I just got one more thing to say. Thanks to you, I think I can take this Super Saiyan thing further. Make it more me. But I also think you've got the wrong idea. Improvement is what's normal to me, and I think you could do it too. Don't always be satisfied with how things are when you can push yourself even further.
I do not see how I could...
The planet was stunned, as Kakarot held seeds from the trees in his hands.
I'm gonna plant these when I get back home, and anywhere I stop on the way. You'll be able to see the rest of the universe through these, and it might help if you get bored.
There are no words with which I can express my gratitude, Kakarot Kent. You are a magnificent being.
Kakarot bear hugged the ground, and then a tree, and then tried to hug a cloud. Mogo appreciated the gesture, before the two prepared for the plan. Mogo had travelled light years, arriving closer to Warworld, but still magnitudes of distance away. The Green Lantern then focused its energy around Kakarot, encasing him in a construct ball. Then, with the will of an entire planet, threw the Saiyan directly towards the unsuspecting world. Kakarot was slammed against the interior of the construct as his vision was overwhelmed with the blackness of space, stars, the universe expanding out in front of him at incomprehensible speed. A couple of hours passed, and as the Saiyan was pouting in his makeshift pod, now rather bored at this point, he began to see his destination enter his field of view.
Finally! Here I come, Warworld!
Without any sign of slowing down.
Wait, how do I stop this thing?
A familiar scene was playing out in the arena of Warworld. Broly, the people's champion, had defeated another opponent in a single blow. Despite the expected outcome, the audience never tired of the sight. It seemed an overpowered champion was what they came to see, to bathe in the hope that they could one day be as strong as him. Mongol and Paragus sat atop in their balcony, the larger conqueror still nursing his embarrassment from the Justice League's interference with his rule in the months prior. But he was thankful that no further attempts from them had been made. He was actually a little worried that Wonder Woman was going to show up on his doorstep.
Broly seems to have recovered from his torture. I assure you, Lord Mongol, the boy will obey from now on.
Recovered? The beast couldn't be hurt if I wanted him to be. Your restraints on him are purely subconscious. He's just too much of a fool to realize it. Part of me wishes someone would show up just to make the thing bleed or something.
A shattering of green that almost destroyed the interior of the arena heralded the arrival of Kakarot, who was now in a mile-deep crater at the center of the arena. Everyone in the vicinity was in shock, preparing battle positions for what seemed to be a missile or a bomb of some kind. Instead, what emerged was a spiky-haired stranger in torn clothing, rubbing his head.
Ow, ow, ow! I should have asked Mo to put cushions in that or something.
The warriors, the civilians, the slaves, the Saiyans, and even Mongol stood in complete disbelief at the nonchalant display after such an impact.
Why is everyone looking at me strange? Hi, guys! Sorry I broke your football stadium?
Don't you stand there, you fool! Kill him!
Hundreds of foes from dozens of species charged at Kakarot, with the confused Saiyan dodging a few at first, wanting to know why he was randomly being attacked.
Hey, hold on! You don't have to kill me just because he said so!
The onslaught continued, and Kakarot was forced to start fighting back, before realizing that this might be the perfect chance to test out an idea of his.
Alright then, let's see!
It still took too much strain than he would like, but within a few moments, the martial artist blew his foes back with his transformation, the sheer force of his aura being enough to knock out the weaker combatants. Yet Kakarot wasn't focused on them. His eyes were closed. He was deliberately trying to stay calm, to let Super Saiyan feel natural to him. But it didn't work. He couldn't help feel the tinges of anger in the back of his mind, and then, that frustration only made things worse.
Damn it! Ah well, maybe next time.
The Super Saiyan was snapped out of his focus, as his mind finally began to sense the large power that drew him here in the first place. A warrior that stood firm against the explosion of his aura, yet one who seemed not to want to attack.
Whoa! You must have been the guy I sensed! That's some serious power you've got!
I do not want to fight you, but I will be forced to if you don't surrender.
Well, if you don't want to fight, we don't have to. No fun if you're not enjoying yourself. My name's Kakarot, by the way. What's yours?
But Broly, you don't fear me?
Fear ya? Well, you're pretty strong, but as I am now, I think I could take ya. We could spar a little and find out.
As Broly was taken aback by the stranger's relaxed and friendly attitude, Paragus and Mongol quickly saw the danger.
Kakarot? But that's a Saiyan name, and he looks just like Bardock. But that's impossible. Who the hell is this?
Another all-powerful Saiyan on my doorstep. This time, one that glows. Fantastic. As if I didn't have enough to hide. Were I not prepared to stop an intruder, I have your head, Paragus.
Mongol removed himself from the scene, instructing a terrified Paragus to follow, a sinister glee in Mongol's eyes as he began to execute his contingency plan. Meanwhile, back in the ruins of the arena, Kakarot had powered down to his base form, continuing his chat with the confused Broly, who wondered where his father and Mongol had vanished to. They were usually barking orders at him by now.
No way! You're a Saiyan too? That's crazy! I was thinking me and Vegeta were the last ones!
Vegeta. Father has spoken of that name many times in his angriest moments. I do not wish to meet him.
Yeah, he's a real jerk. Every other Saiyan I've met has been. You seem a lot more normal, though.
You think I am normal? But I am a monster.
Huh? Monsters are all scary with fangs and stuff. Who told you a lie like that?
Me. Hello, Saiyan. Welcome to my Warworld.
What?
Mongol had expected a Justice League. What he got was a lone warrior, and so his final trick was going to work a lot better than he ever expected.
Kakarot.
Raditz!
Well.
Faster than a speeding bulletin. Louder than a locomotive. Able to let you know what's up in a single sound. It's Up, Up, and Olsen! Brought to you by the Daily Planet Podcast Network. With your host, Jimmy Olsen!
Jenny. It's Jenny Olsen now. I told the guy to change it on the thing. Wait, are we recording? Hello, people of the world. It's your mild-mannered host, Jenny Olsen here, with a really exciting ep. Well, you've no doubt seen him on the street, or that terrible incident where he asked for a collab with popular social media influencer / teen titan Beast Boy. But after demanding his own podcast, Editor-in-Chief Perry White has put him on here, and if I didn't agree, he'd fire me. So please welcome my new co-host straight from space, I guess, Larfleeze.
You shall address me as Agent Orange!
Right. Well, I guess we can make that work. Maybe call ourselves Agents Orange. You know, ginger hair, orange light of avarice.
The orange is mine!
Perfectly fine by me. You can put down the death ring lasers. But I gotta ask, if you're an agent, doesn't that mean you have a boss? I know the Green Lanterns work for the Guardians of Oa. Do you have people like that?
Yes.
Oh, really?
I keep my guardian in a cage against their will and make them cook me things.
Yikes, that's not the move, bro. But I gotta say, Agent Orange, I think some days I'd want to have my boss cook for me too. Hey, maybe this can be a bit. Hey, Chief, do you want to cook for me?
Yeah, sure, Olsen. I'll cook for you. Why don't you take this turkey leg and shove it up your...
Oh, that Chief, he's an old-fashioned, gritty reporter who never lets a scoop fly by him.
What is this scoop you speak of? I have never had a scoop! Ancient male specimen! Provide me with a scoop now!
It's just an expression. It means a story. Speaking of, the people of Metropolis are super curious about you. Why don't you let the people know what you're doing on Earth, and if you plan to head back home anytime soon?
Yes. Well, I collected an adventure with your Justice League, and along the way found something I want even more. Your Saiyan Kakarot Kent!
His loss is still really hurting the people around here.
Nothing is ever lost. In my sanctum on Okara, many of my things would vanish. But if you wait around long enough, they always turn back up.
What's the longest you've waited for something to turn up?
372,452 years.
That's... So we'll have you here for a while, huh?
Yes, until he returns.
Great! Let's take an ad break real quick.
When I said I was going to run for the highest office in the land, people said it couldn't be done, that I had no hope of succeeding. They said the same thing about LexCorp. But now I'm running the most successful multi-billion-dollar corporation in the world, giving jobs to thousands of Americans, but more importantly, hope. Now, I don't like to get political, but when people said another superhero on the streets wasn't what America needed, I put on my Superman armor and showed them that as long as I fought for truth, justice, and the American way, there would always be hope for a better tomorrow. True Americans know that through famine, wealth, disparity, and senseless terrorist attacks, all we really need is hope. I'm Lex Luthor, and I hope to have your vote come November.
No one shall take my vote from me! It is mine!
I'm not sure we can call out our sponsors like that, but I'll just say you're speaking a lot of truth bombs. So now I'm going to need you to shoot those truths at one of our listeners in What Happens in Gorilla City Stays in Gorilla City.
I am prepared to destroy them with bombs if you think it will give me views.
Well, it would, but we're just going to have you take their question. Name says, Dear Jenny, I know you went on a date with a Sasquatch recently, and I hoped you'd have some advice for me. I just found out the guy I've been IMing is really the Shaggy Man. I thought his username meant something different. I kind of like how bulky he is, but I just don't know how to handle all the hair. He stayed over one night, and my shower is clogged. Do you have any tips on how to manage a man with that much hair? Thank you for emailing. In my case, my hairy month of passion was Scarlet. She kept herself well groomed, but she was a bad girl. There was one time I had to unclog the shower, and I just used the cosmic treadmill to go back in time and warned them not to take a shower in my house. Sadly, due to multiverse theory, Scarlet went off with my alternative timeline self created by the experience, so probably not the best advice in retrospect. How about you, co-host? You're a furry fella. Any advice on plumbing?
I quit bathing 3 billion years ago. I didn't like how it robbed me of my stank! Human females, the best option is shave your mate and save the hair in a number of jars so it can be reapplied with adhesive at a later date.
Great advice, and fitting, given we have a special offer from everyone's favorite baldy, Razors of Steel, a LexCorp subsidiary. Type the code H0PE at the checkout to receive a 10% discount for your next purchase. That's all we've got time for, but I actually really enjoyed this dynamic. Do you think you'd want to come on my show for a little longer, Agent Orange?
Only if it's my show!
Sure. As always, take it easy, folks.
Kakarot.
Raditz?
Are you done training, brother? It's time to go fishing.
Be right there. Just gotta go say bye to Ma first.
Kakarot ran into the tiny farmhouse. It felt extra small as of late, especially with Raditz around. Nothing like when he was a boy and could go hours without seeing another soul. It was so good to have the place feel this alive. Kakarot found his beloved mother in their rustic kitchen. Sometimes it was as if she never left, but he had no objections to that, as long as she kept whipping up delicious meals and baking amazing treats.
Hey Ma, we're heading out.
You boys have a nice time, and don't forget to take this now.
Martha handed Kakarot a gigantic picnic basket to take with them to the boat. They'd be lucky if it didn't sink the thing. Kakarot smiled as he hefted the basket over his shoulder. He shouted a cheerful goodbye to his mother as he rushed out the front door and down to meet his favorite fishing partners.
Come on, Clark. Fish bite early.
It's Kakarot now.
The farm boy caught up with the pickup truck, hopping in the back with his older brother as Jonathan Kent drove them to the large pond that served as a poorly kept secret fishing hole, deep in the back country outside of Smallville. The three had a lovely time fishing, or rather, attempting to fish. Kakarot and Raditz quickly found themselves in a brotherly quarrel over the food Martha had sent along with them, and the two being Saiyan siblings, their quarrel quickly erupted into a full-on battle. From the skies above to the very depths of the fishing hole, the two duked it out. While neither went all out, The powers they had achieved training together daily made even a light bout an awe-inspiring battle.
You've never beaten me before, little brother, and this time won't be any different. The bacon sandwich shall be mine and mine alone!
But bacon's my favorite!
You say that about everything you eat!
Well, they're all my favorites!
That's not how favorites work! Double Sunday!
Cannon!
Jonathan had grown used to all this spectacle. He simply sat in the small boat, letting the shockwaves of the battle unfolding around him rock the farmer quietly to sleep, not even noticing the bobber on his fishing line sink deep into the water. These fishing trips were rarely any success, but Kakarot thrilled in them. Any chance to spend time with Jonathan and to spar with his brother, who was always showing him the path to a new level of strength. This truly was the perfect life he'd always dreamed of as a boy. So perfect, in fact, that he truly couldn't imagine anything better. As evening began to set in, Martha watched down the lane and saw the old pickup carrying her 3 boys home. It pulled up next to the house, beside a sleek black Lamborghini that looked about as out of place in Smallville as a hair on a biscuit. Kakarot recognized it instantly and leaped from the bed of the pickup, running inside.
Bruce!
It's good to see you, old friend.
Bruce Wayne, the one and only Batman, sat in the kitchen of the Kent family home. Martha was setting out plates for dinner, of course, being sure to use the good china, since they had such a fancy guest. Jonathan and Raditz soon came into the house, and everyone sat down for a nice, home-cooked dinner. Kakarot kept everyone entertained, telling stories about their fishing trip.
Did you actually manage to catch anything out there?
Nope. I was just having too much fun with my brother and Pa.
If by fun you mean eating all the food, then yes, we had a lovely time.
Clark's good at a lot, but he's never had the patience for proper fishing.
Pa!
All this fighting you two do. Does it ever make you miss the hero business?
Not really. Raditz is so much like me, but keeps getting stronger. I couldn't have dreamed up a better challenge.
You'll surpass us all one day. Thanks to my training, of course. I might even teach you my Double Sunday.
The Double Sunday? Is that the attack you used to destroy Bloodhaven and kill my boy?
The room went dead quiet at that moment. Kakarot looked at his friend in shock. Raditz stood up in an instant, preparing to pounce at the brash remark. Jonathan, however, was on his feet first. He gave Bruce a stern look.
This boy's been through a lot now, you hear? You're a guest in this home, and I won't have you talk like that, understand? I think it's best for you to go home now. Clark, see your friend out.
Kakarot rose and escorted Bruce out the front door. As Bruce walked down the wood steps into the yard, Kakarot stood under the lone light of the port, his family remaining inside, but still visible through the screen door. The Saiyan was hurt, so deeply by the remark. He had no idea where it came from. This all felt so wrong. His best friend being so harsh to his brother. They'd moved past this a long time ago. Or he thought they had. Kakarot's memory was never the best.
Why would you say that, Bruce?
I can't believe you. I thought I actually got through that thick skull of yours. You were ready to become something more than a fighter. An inspiration, a true hero. But look at where you are.
Bruce, it's family. This kind of chance. We never had it before.
And why do you think that is? Wake up, Kakarot.
Brother, come in. Stop talking to that imbecile. Once he's gone, we'll spar. Work out all that negativity he's brought up.
Kakarot turned to go back into the house. His family was waiting, and it looked so warm and inviting. Bruce could stay in the cold night air. It was where he belonged. But as he reached to open the screen door, Bruce spoke up again.
This may be the kind of life you think you want, but men like you don't get that. It may be what you deserve, but the world needs you out there. Not in here. And you know it.
Clark, come in, son. That man's upset your mother now.
Pa? I go by Kakarot now.
Something about this was all wrong, but he couldn't quite tell what it was. Jonathan's comment about how upset Martha was, however, that tipped things. Kakarot reached out to try and sense his mother, but he only felt what he always did when he thought about her. The memory of her key, but not a new living one. He wanted to run inside, to embrace this family. Something in him screamed to do just that. But now that his senses were active, he could feel that something wasn't him. The urge to obey, however, it was immense.
Go ahead, the world's strongest, resigned to a quiet life on a farm, one where he'll never want for anything. What a challenge that will be.
At those words, the martial artist resigned himself to a soul action. He opened the door and grabbed his family in his arms.
Ma, I've missed you so much. And Raditz, I'm glad at least you're here. You didn't have to be alone.
Brother, what are you doing?
Clark?
We just never got to know each other is all. I'm sorry about that. I can feel this thing now, though. I know none of this is real, no matter how much I wish it could be.
Kakarot began to cry as he tapped fully into his senses. He could feel the outside world now, and knew all he needed to do to reach it. Simply overwhelm this weight on his chest, push with a simple amount of power, and clear it. But to leave this fantasy behind was agony. Kakarot concentrated his energy, powering up to his limits, but his base wasn't enough. There was no escape through sadness, so he let it turn into rage. In a burst of fury, the Super Saiyan tore through the mental grip of the Black Mercy. On Warworld, Kakarot erupted into the golden aura of a legend, as Broly pulled the writhing plant from the martial artist's chest. He had been trying to for the last few hours, but whenever he used too much of his strength, he could feel Kakarot's life slipping away. Mongol had been trying to stop Broly, instructing Baragus to order the boy at first, but even that didn't work. Broly was focused on saving this new friend, who he had only spoken to briefly. He refused to make the same mistake he did with Flash and Mera. Their example, the example of the Justice League, had inspired Broly to take a stand, here and now. But the torture Kakarot had just experienced was beyond description. The Super Saiyan screamed in rage as he shot forward in a burst of power and grabbed Mongol by the throat.
What did you do to me?
I fashioned a prison you couldn't leave without sacrificing your heart's desire. It must have been like tearing off your own arm.
Burn!
Kakarot blasted Mongol with what felt like a condensed supernova. The tyrant was formidable, but a Super Saiyan was beyond his comprehension. He coughed up from scorched lips, still very much alive despite the damage. He threw a punch with all his might, but the Super Saiyan battered it aside with just a second's fall. He was putting out more power. His anger was making him forget his training, and his muscles were beginning to swell, raising his strength dramatically at the cost of his speed. Yet here, it made no difference. Mongol wasn't an opponent who required something like that. A kick crashed against the martial artist's temple, and the only one who felt any pain was Mongol. A single punch of the gut was all it took to take the fight completely from the tyrant, allowing the Saiyan to hold him once again like the garbage he was. The warrior charged an even larger blast that would have vaporized Mongol, had Kakarot not just noticed the mass of people that were now watching them. In the time Broly was trying to save Kakarot, The people of Warworld had finally seen a task that their champion could not accomplish, and were mesmerized. Now, they saw a golden god holding their ruler like a helpless child.
Kill
him! Kill him! Kill him!
Yes, kill him! Deliver my son and I from his wicked rule. Then you can lead us. A new Saiyan Empire can begin right here, led by the warrior of legend, the Super Saiyan.
The rage of the Super Saiyan roared inside the martial artist. No, not the Super Saiyan. His. Just his. His failure to save a friend, his failure as a son, and his failure as a hero. He wouldn't repeat those same mistakes. He would change. No matter how difficult it felt, he would try to be better. For Bruce.
No! I'm not here to kill or rule anyone! No one is! My name is Kakarot Kent. I am the Super Saiyan! And I decide what that means! You are all fighters! You don't live to fight for what someone else tells you to! You make that choice on your own! You gotta improve on your own! No one here is a slave! You're warriors!
With his final declaration, he tossed Mongol to the ground. The fallen tyrant's fate now left to his once enslaved people.
Phew! Was that a little too much? Honestly, I didn't really know what to say. I much prefer action to talking. By the way, what's with all the weapons around you?
I was trying to save you. Mogo wanted me to stop. I do not think his weapons worked.
The pair shared a laugh, finally having some small relief, only for Kakarot to realize that the strange creature that was controlling him had now taken to Mongol. He thought of removing it, but realized Mongol could never free himself from the creature's poison dream. Broly searched for his father, unable to find him in the chaos. At first, Kakarot was confused as to why Broly seemed so desperate, but Broly explained some of their history to him, as it had been with Flash and Mera. Kakarot, however, was a little more simple in his mindset, and decided that he sounds like he should have trained and got out. The two were different in their views of family, but after the ordeal he went through, the martial artist did understand how it could feel to want something better from a relative than they were in reality. Back home on Earth, Luthor found subject GO01152213477 stooped over a table, intently staring into a microscope.
So this is where you've been. You realize you were supposed to be in the training room 10 minutes ago.
I completed the drills you set. Look, it's the cross-section of a grasshopper's nerve ganglia.
I'm well aware. I went through a dissecting phase at your age.
No, there's a reason. Look, turn up the magnification. That small green anomaly along the edge of the nerve?
A virus.
Exactly. I've been running through some tests, and I think I can use this to make a cure, and maybe stop it, in case it affects the species.
And where exactly did you find this poor victim?
Well, I might have went to his farm. But it's okay. I made sure no one saw me. I was just curious.
You went behind my back, against my express instructions, to pursue a pet science project? It seems my lessons are paying off. Nice work. Just remember one thing. That power, the possibility of fixing mistakes found in the world through science, that's control. Your mind can let you bend and change the balance of nature to how you see fit. That's your real weapon. That's what makes you a threat. Just make sure you're smart enough to know who to use it against. Don't disobey me again.
Back on Warworld, the Saiyans continued to travel across the arena, finding massive battles erupting from the slaves freeing themselves. Kakarot and Broly jumped in, helping where they could, unwittingly turning what would have been a short-lived riot into a true rebel movement, their numbers growing by the hour as the two travelled across the expanse of Warworld. Kakarot even took the time to teach some street urchins how to defend themselves along the way. Broly, copying the hero's displays of punches and kicks just as eagerly as the small children. Their journey to find Paragus was beginning to be a lost cause, and eventually, Broly asked Kakarot what he wanted to do here on Warworld. Kakarot explained to Broly that he'd been searching for a way home, and Broly quickly responded that Mongol had a hangar full of ships that he had either bought or stolen over the years. Running past the erupting chaos of a revolution, the two Saiyans eventually managed to arrive in the hangar bay, only to find Paragus piloting an old Saiyan pod, preparing to flee. Seeing the pair, Paragus instinctively activated Broly's restraints, causing the Saiyan to drop to his knees instantly. Kakarot looked at the restraints in confusion. Something that simple shouldn't have an effect on the power he felt from Broly.
Really? I didn't think something like that could hurt you since you're so strong.
Broly curled up like he always had, ever since he was a boy. But Kakarot's words made him realize something. Something he should have figured out a long time ago. He wasn't a boy anymore. The weapons that Mongol had used contained much more power than these restraints. He realized what hurt so much in that moment wasn't the pain of a shock, but the betrayal conditioned in him by his father. Broly rose slowly to his feet, no longer whimpering like a child, but standing as a Saiyan warrior.
I will not be controlled. Ever. Again.
Broly shot towards his father and grabbed the space pod out of the air before it could escape. He clutched it, struggling against the engines till they bent to his fury. A lifetime of rage at his father was now unleashed. He dug his fingers into the pod and ripped it in two, catching Paragus before he hit the ground. Kakarot saw the energy fuming off Broly, and rethought his statement back in the ring about being able to take him in a fight. But he had gotten to know Broly quite quickly, and was sure that the big guy just needed some calming down.
Hey Broly, no matter what's happened, I feel like it's no big deal.
What?
Everything that's happened here, it'll all turn out fine, I'm sure. Just look at everything we saw on the way here. Besides, your paw isn't all bad, right?
The old warrior was in awe at the simplicity behind the myth's words. He had been told the Super Saiyan lived for war, for death, and for violence. Perhaps this had been the lie of the king as well. Who could trust legends spoken under his rule? Despite wanting to be free, the general had still acted on Warworld like he had always done while serving under King Vegeta. The prophet of the Saiyan race was speaking to him, and only a fool would hold on to the words of a failed king when faced with a legendary god.
The Super Saiyan. In all my years, I thought it was just a myth, just like my own boy. You should kill me, Broly, for all I've done. I never expected anything more from this life but to see the warrior of legend appear before you. You deserve more than this. You are destined for greater. You should rule the universe.
Father, I will not serve you anymore! I do not want to rule or fight. I just want...
It's fine, Broly. You don't have to answer to me anymore. Go. Find your own fate.
Paragus was set on the ground, exchanging only a glance with Broly, before blasting off back into the heat of the chaos, joining in the erupting world-scale revolution. The old warrior had made this planet his home. He would live and die here on his own terms.
You okay? I never really got to know my dad that well. We could try and go back for him.
No, I've said enough. We gotta improve on our own, right?
Right. And that's why I gotta say goodbye now, too.
Broly looked stunned as Kakarot stood beside another ship, each Saiyan now having their own transport.
A friend once told me I wasn't doing enough to help people. I was always focused on fighting, and he was right. But I always thought I'd have to change to be more like him. I realize now that I don't. I don't have to help people like my friends do. I can just be me. A lot of people don't know much about their ki or making their own choices. I think I can help them. So I can't go back home. The Saiyans caused a lot of pain, and if I really am the Super Saiyan, it's gotta be my job to fix some of it.
But I wish to learn from you too. I do not think anyone else could help.
You met Flash, right?
Broly was surprised at the statement, but now things began to click in place. This Kakarot must be from the same place as his other friends, the one Flash sent to bring him back.
You are their friend too?
Yup, and I bet you're wiser than you think. You stood up to Mongol and your dad all on your own. So for now, we'll go our own way, and you can tell everyone on Earth that I'm alright.
I think I could do that. If you want me to.
If you want to. Friends help each other out, not because of orders.
That sounds nice. We are friends then. Friends who will meet again?
You betcha!
The doors of their respective ships closed, and thanks to the friendly voice-controlled autopilots, the Saiyans were able to actually take off at all. Waving goodbye, the two blasted off, one destined for Earth, and one headed to try and change the galaxy.
Where would you like to go first, Master?
How about the most exciting planet you can think of?
Setting course.
Ha! That worked! Alright, here I come!
In the time since the resurrection of Bloodhaven and Coast City, things on Themyscira had gathered more attention from the public. Lex Luthor, in his bid for president, had continued to stoke outrage about Vegeta, the Saiyan Prince's seeming lack of accountability for the destruction he brought upon the Earth.
I believe in second chances. I believe in the spirit of the common good, that humanity, for all its faults, can strive to be better. Millions were given a second chance thanks to the efforts of our heroes. And yet, some thing, an alien warmonger, with the blood of countless people on its hands, shares that same gift as the men and women that he slew. How is that fair? How is it fair that your place of work, your school, or your home is a pile of rubble, while it gets to live on an island of beautiful women? I respect my former teammates, but at times like this, I question if they have forgotten the principles we once stood for. Monsters like this Vegeta need to be held to account by the people they've wronged, not be allowed to take it easy on Paradise Island.
It was because of sentiments like that one that Diana had settled on something she was unsure of. Vegeta had killed someone she loved. She understood the anger at him the world was feeling, but she was able to look past that anger, to see the person behind those actions and what led him there. Forgiveness remained a distant ship, but one that at least had a chance of coming in. For her. What she had planned, however, was a test. To see if someone else could help that ship. Someone Vegeta had hurt on a much more direct level. While Diana was a surviving victim of the prince's actions, her lover was murdered by the man himself. But thanks to Carl Rayner, Steve Trevor had been given a second chance at life. If Steve could find his way to forgiveness, maybe the rest of the world would be able to as well. Diana had taken the time to brief Steve on her interactions with Vegeta thus far. She told him that she believed Vegeta had the potential for good. He was a proud soul, but one buried under a life of trauma. Steve remained dubious about this, but for Diana, he was willing to give the Saiyan a chance. And so, they entered the corridor that held Vegeta's cell. They found the prince training. He had been doing so without end since seeing what Kakarot had achieved. Vegeta didn't speak a word of it to anyone. No one else knew that a low class had achieved the legendary form of Super Saiyan. Vegeta would continue to train and push himself to his limits, his hands bloody from working them to the literal bone. Unbeknownst to Wonder Woman and the Amazons, his hatred for Kakarot was even pushing the magical armor to act against him, something the prince welcomed. Resistance to make him stronger. And while it was far from what the armor was truly capable of, it was assisting him in growing a tolerance for the magical bindings.
Vegeta, I'd like you to meet someone.
Hi, Steve Trevor, agent of Argus. I just got back and Diana figured we should meet, though I guess we kind of already did, huh?
Yes, you met my boot. Or so I'm told. I don't remember everyone I step on.
Vegeta!
Seriously? I died and that's how you greet me. You know what? I get it. Little guy like you probably got stepped on a lot. Walked all over, I bet. Makes sense you'd want to lash out and do it to others. Diana said she thinks that you can change, that you can be saved, but you're not even willing to apologize for killing me?
Steve!
We were warriors on opposing sides. I killed you, you attempted to do the same to me. There's nothing to apologize for. Unless you wish to relive it, I recommend not standing against me in the next battle.
So just waiting for another battle, huh? I get that. Hell, I was like that. Everybody was an enemy. Even when I was stuck right in this cell.
Are you comparing yourself to me?
No, because you'd come up short. That's no small surprise, though. At least when I was sitting where you are, I was fighting for something good. Every day I was fighting to protect people. Even when I was being used by my own government. What brought you to Earth, huh? Serving some monster out in space? Or is it deeper than that? Yeah, I knew guys like you. Signed up for themselves. Because they wanted the fight. They wanted the dirty work of Black Ops because it's the only thing they were ever good at. I can smell it on you.
And what are you? The brave fool who thinks he's fighting for good? Let me share with you what a true warrior knows. There's no good in a war.
Okay, enough. This isn't working, and it's clear that neither of you are ready to meet. Steve, let's go.
Not ready? Diana, you're too trusting. I can tell there's no hope for this guy. He's FUBAR.
Ah, now I remember. It took me a while, but it's the scent that did it. When you were under my heel, I remember the fear.
Vegeta, silence, now. Steve, come on.
Incredible. I don't know why she's wasting her time on you. You don't deserve her.
Diana and Steve began to talk in another room, but before they could truly unpack what had just happened in there, a war horn sounded, and the princess realized that there was an attack force landing on the south beach. Diana told Steve to wait where he was, and that she'd be back once this was dealt with. Steve offered to come and fight with her, but she said that if anything happened to her, he'd be the last line of defense if this unknown enemy was coming to break Vegeta out, or kill him. Reluctantly, Steve went back into the corridor where Vegeta waited in his cell, hoping the invasion was nothing Diana couldn't handle. Once Steve got there, he saw Vegeta peering out a window in his cell. A window that faced south. Wonder Woman arrived on the beach to find an old enemy, Giganta. But this time, she seemed to have some strange company. The telepath, Hector Hammond, one of Hal Jordan's oldest foes, and Livewire, a dangerous villain of near infinite energy, who had fought Kakarot multiple times. Then, a face, if you could call it that, she had never seen outside of the Justice League monitors. The rogue known as Tar Pit, an amorphous blob-like creature made of Ausfat, fire, and tar. The Flash had talked about him on occasion. The other villains were just stepping onto the beach too, Scarecrow, and a flamboyant mercenary named El Flamingo.
Doris, interesting company you've brought. What made you decide to form this newest Injustice gang?
We're more than a gang, princess. We're here on behalf of the people your little pet hurt. Hand him over and I might consider leaving your so-called paradise intact.
I see. So this not gang of sadists and mercenaries has just turned over a new leaf and are suddenly bringing in the bad guys. Well, Themyscira is a sovereign nation. We do not hand over our prisoners. Now you will leave my home and you'll take these misguided souls with you.
Wonder Woman shot towards Giganta, but had to break her charge off to deflect a bolt of electricity from Livewire. While distracted holding the stream of current off, she was smacked down to the ground by Giganta's massive fist. Before Wonder Woman was able to rise, Tar Pit lunged at her in what was more a belly flop than a tackle. Wonder Woman was immediately consumed in the fiery mess of the rogue's body. She attempted to cut her way out, but the being reformed around each of her slashes. The Amazon soldiers were unable to help their princess, as they were dealing with the trio of Hector Hammond, Scarecrow, and the bizarre yet savage Al Flamingo. While any Amazon could likely handle the flamboyant mercenary on their own, they were being gassed by Scarecrow's fear toxin and hallucinating all their worst fears. This delirious state was heightened by the twisted mind of Hector Hammond, who directed the hallucinations of the Amazons onto their own sisters, forcing the Amazons to attack each other instead of their true enemy, leaving them unguarded against Al Flamingo. Back in the cell, Vegeta looked out onto the battle. He was beginning to form a plan, as he could smell the fear growing in Steve Trevor.
Things aren't going well out there.
Stow it!
The princess is caught in this disgusting mass of a monster, and her warriors are attacking each other.
So it's a snafu. Diana's been through worse.
Now the pale one's electrocuting her, and the giantess just stepped on her. Oh good, she grabbed hold of her foot and pulled herself out. Smart move.
See? She knows what she's doing in a fight.
Yes, now we'll see how she avoids getting into the same situation. Let's hope she figures something out before all her soldiers kill each other. 3 more of these freaks might prove too much for her.
I'm not an idiot. I know what you're trying to do.
Vegeta stayed quiet for a while. He knew that if he overplayed his hand, then his plan wouldn't work. He'd done enough to stoke Steve's fear. Now, he just needed to wait. The battle outside continued, and every second it dragged on was a gift to him and torment to Steve. While he waited, Vegeta described the fighters he could see, and Steve named them off. Argus's files on metahuman criminals were extensive.
It seems they came with a strategy to use their tricks just to take the princess out. This all looks to be over.
Enough! Have you considered why they're here? Maybe it's to take you out, huh? You better hope Diana stops, or it might be your foot on the mine next.
If they come after me, they'll have to open that door first. And if that happens, none of them stand a chance. I suppose it doesn't matter if they kill her first. I can defeat them either way.
Nice chatter, short platter.
Would you like a demonstration? Last time you saw me battle, the view was a bit too close to appreciate.
Oh my captain, is that so? Well, let me just unlock these here bars for you, sir. I'm not an idiot. I know you just want to escape. You wouldn't help her.
Escape? This armor won't let me. The princess certainly would have told you that. I can only protect myself and others with this on. Didn't she mention that trash Orion?
Yeah.
Well, I owe her for that. And I can't escape, so really she's up against 7 opponents. 6 out there, and you.
Don't.
You said it yourself. All I care about is the fight. Let me balance the scales. Oh, he's got her again. Are you truly going to let her die just because you're afraid of me?
Steve wrestled with his gut. He knew this was a bad idea, but it looked like the only option he had. He opened the cell door.
Don't make me regret this.
You're not an idiot, Trevor. You're a fool.
Vegeta blasted a hole through the corridor wall and flew off toward the horizon. The thing he hadn't mentioned was that the armor would allow him to flee if his life was in danger. Steve cursed himself and ran down to the beach. He just failed as the last line of defense, so maybe he could at least help out there. Once he arrived, he saw the situation wasn't as Vegeta described it. Things were in fact worse. Hammond and Scarecrow were keeping the Amazons at bay with the help of Al Flamingo. Diana was struggling to free herself from Tar Pit while being forced to take charge attacks from Livewire in the process. The only piece of good news was that Giganta was too busy cackling to help in the assault. Steve took a chance and grabbed the spare Amazonian shield and dove in front of Livewire's attack, blocking the lightning long enough for Diana to break free. Wonder Woman was shocked to see Steve on the beach. She looked up towards the palace and saw the broken wall Vegeta had left. Then, to the horizon, as she could just make out a speck speeding away as fast as the armor would allow him.
Steve Trevor, you are a fool.
Yeah, I know.
What possessed you to let him out?
Guy got in my head. Said he'd come help and that the armor wouldn't let him escape.
So you gave him a chance?
Yeah. Listen, Angel, I'm not the type to say I told you so.
I'm sorry. Are we interrupting something?
In a quick motion, Steve Trevor was picked up from the ground and lifted 10 stories into the air. He was used to pulling positive G's in jets, but this was without any warning. Giganta hurled Steve like a toy in her hand, far away from the Amazonian princess.
My turn. I want to play with Special Forces, Ken.
Meanwhile, halfway across the world, in a basement lab belonging to LexCorp headquarters, Superboy was being quizzed once again.
What's the protocol when arriving on a crisis scene?
Assess all threats. Neutralize them in risk order.
Good. What about optics?
Never use more force than necessary. Protect risk to property and people.
Back on the battlefield, Giganta squeezed Steve with so much pressure, his ribs began to crack. Yet, she was only playing and clearly holding back. Wonder Woman flew to try and free him, but Livewire came back again to hold her at bay with another huge bolt of electricity. This time, however, she deflected the energy back at Giganta, causing her to drop Steve. Wonder Woman flew down to catch him in the nick of time, but as the pair landed, Tar Pit began to rush in to overwhelm them yet again. But just as the massive asphalt hurled itself through the air at them, he was blasted away by a large purple beam. Wonder Woman and Steve looked in the direction it came from, and saw Vegeta as he began to float down to the ground. Before they could say anything, more barrages of white lightning shot across the battlefield at the prince. Livewire was still fully charged, and threw bolt after bolt of energy at Vegeta. At first, it seemed the beams had taken him by surprise, but then they started to travel less and less distance as Vegeta unloaded blasts of his own to push back the volley of voltage sent his way. The prince quickly closed the gap and began to overwhelm Livewire, who just couldn't keep up. She attempted to stop firing and vanish, but the beachfront was not her ideal battleground, and there were no electronic devices to conduct herself through. She ran out of time as the blast from Vegeta finally reached her and detonated point blank, knocking her out cold. Giganta had been out of the battle, recovering from her own hit of Livewire's energy when she kicked a huge mound of sand at the prince, the shock of it doing more harm than the physical force itself.
Another of Wonder Woman's toys for me to break. Aw, but this one's so tiny. I won't be able to have any fun.
Vegeta smirked to himself through the dust cloud. All the jokes he'd heard so far were about the worst damage any of the Earthlings had done to him since his battle with the Justice League. The prince decided now would be the time to remind them all of the kind of power they were mocking. He vanished from the ground and appeared directly in front of Giganta's face, and grinned at the look of shock that overcame her when she caught up with what was happening.
You wouldn't hit a woman, would you?
Vegeta vanished again and delivered a spinning kick to Giganta's right cheek that instantly sent her hurtling to the ground, her large figure causing huge waves in the ocean shallows as she landed. She rubbed the cheek that Vegeta kicked and attempted to speak, but had to spit out a chip from one of her teeth first.
Huh? I think I hurt its little feelings. Boys, I might need some help.
Come help her if you want, but you'll all be on the ground next to her eventually.
Vegeta floated down to the beach, where Wonder Woman came to meet him. As the other three invaders began to approach, and Giganta rose to her feet, Diana began to call a quick battle plan.
I'll handle Doris. You keep those three occupied, but I warn you, don't underestimate them.
Oh, I'm sure they're a real threat being sent off to deal with your support. Why don't you just go attend to the fool? I can handle what's left of this trash.
Be serious. Dr. Crane uses chemicals to make you see your greatest fears, and Hammond can tear your mind apart if you let him in.
And the other one? What's his trick?
He'll eat your face.
Ugh, it disgusted me when Mad Harriet did that.
Yes, well, Vegeta, thank you for coming back.
At that, the two royals took off. While Wonder Woman engaged Giganta, Vegeta worked up his defenses to deal with the other three.
Protocol for mental warfare?
It's off-brand to appear as anything other than a stoic symbol of strength. Psychic attacks must be dealt with without losing face.
Scarecrow came charging in, which was rare for him. Vegeta simply grabbed the doctor's wrists and held him back. Suddenly, a burst of smoke erupted from all over Scarecrow's body. Vegeta was engulfed by Crane's most potent fear toxin.
Ah! Worms! Slithering all over me! No!
A mighty one you may be. So was your oaf who blew out the candle on Coast City. Yet trounced by the bad man was he, who picked the pocket of my toil to claim victory.
Vegeta dropped his act and delivered a single blow to Scarecrow's gut, instantly knocking all the wind out of him. Dr. Crane dropped to the ground, clutching his gut in the fetal position, shivering in pain.
Pathetic. Did you honestly think a trick that worked on Nappa would have any effect on me? You're going to die for the insult.
Vegeta charged up a blast, but suddenly he felt the armor kicking in a way he hadn't even realized was possible. Previously, when he trained with it, or even when he'd attempted to escape his cell, the weight would come and then soon level off. But now, it was taking all his strength to remain standing, and yet still, its weight seemed to increase exponentially. His energy beam dissipated as he was no longer able to keep the physical focus required to maintain it. Quickly, he was forced to the ground, but still the armor grew denser, forcing him to sink into the sand. It was the malice that caused the armor to react this way. His intention stopped being to win the battle and became murder. He would have killed Crane if not for the armor, and now he was just as helpless as the Doctor, and preying on the helpless was what Hector Hammond knew best. He'd been hiding this time, waiting for Crane's fear toxin to take hold so he could use Vegeta against Wonder Woman. But now was likely his only chance to enter the prince's mind and completely incapacitate him. And so he began to peel back the layers of Vegeta's mind, searching for the hardest memories, the kinds people force themselves not to think of, the deepest, buried, and hardest to relive. Hammond had planned to force Vegeta through all of them at once and reduce the prince to a vegetable, drooling in the sand. However, given Vegeta's tortured childhood and apocalypse, Hammond hardly had to try. Every match against Darkseid was bubbling at the surface, every humiliating defeat, every crushed hope, and as Vegeta lived these memories yet again, the voice of Darkseid rang out in his head.
You grow weak as you cower under these Amazons. This resurgence of pride is pathetic. By my tutelage, you were instructed that attachments are folly. The notions of love she has sucked you upon are lies. There remains only one uncompromising truth. One that you have always known. Darkseid is...
The mental assault was too much for the prince. Any hope he had of regaining his mind to call off the mystic armor was lost, as Darkseid's words threw his intentions into a fury. All he wanted now was to kill, and so the armor would not cease its growing density. Vegeta felt the waves of the shore begin to touch the tip of his hair, as he was pinned into the sand, and for a brief instant, he felt hope. The armor would mean no one would be able to move him. Maybe he'd be lucky enough for the tide to come in, so he could drown. An awful way to die, but one that would lead to an end to all this suffering. Yet Vegeta could not be so fortunate, as the final villain on the shore appeared in his line of sight. Al Flamingo stood over the Saiyan Prince, holding a special knife. Even if Vegeta had the energy to prevent the attack, Hammond's mental assault had robbed him of any ability to focus it. Al Flamingo's stomach growled as he licked his lips, preparing to carve Vegeta's face off. As Al Flamingo began to place the knife, he was suddenly rocked across the head by a large rock held in the hands of Steve Trevor. Al Flamingo dropped like a stone. The flamboyant mercenary passed out on top of Vegeta.
Just want to say, if you didn't try to go AWOL, I would have moved them off you. You're welcome, by the way.
Hector Hammond grew outraged from his position down the beach. It seemed to be all down to him and Giganta now. He decided he'd make quick work of Trevor and then help ground Wonder Woman so they could finish the mission they'd been sent to do. Hammond reached out with his psychic powers and entered Steve Trevor's mind, only to see a beautiful woman, an army nurse, undoing her bra in a hospital supply closet. She moved forward and kissed him. Of course, it wasn't Hector she was kissing, but Steve. However, that didn't matter to Hammond. He was experiencing Steve's memories from his point of view. Hector began to drool on the beach. He had no idea Trevor had such exquisite memories. Steve Trevor lived the kind of life Hammond had always dreamed of, but he quickly felt his breath draw short. As Hammond opened his eyes, he saw Steve Trevor's hands around his neck, cutting off his supply of oxygen. He tried to push past the memories he so craved and find some fuel to use against Steve, but it was too late. Trevor's gambit had paid off. His study of the Argus files and Hector Hammond made his contingency plan work perfectly. Being a known pervert made distracting the telepath too simple.
Doris, you're all that's left. We've done this before. Surrender now, you know you can't win.
Oh, fine. Need to go see a dentist now anyway.
How do you deal with breakage after a battle?
Securing all civilians and making sure they're safe?
Wrong. Secure assets. The police will handle the populace. Only you can save the buildings and properties. That's enough for today. You scored an A-. I'm disappointed.
In the aftermath of the battle, more Amazonians began to crowd the beach, tending to their wounded sisters. Diana made a call into the Hall of Justice and arranged for the villains to be teleported away. Vegeta remained pinned to the sand, the ocean tide now brushing against his ears. Only Diana had the strength required to lift him and carry him back to his cell. She told Steve to go wait for her in the palace as she made her way back to the wall the prince had blasted through. She laid Vegeta down in his cell and closed the door. As she was about to leave, Diana stopped. The Saiyan Prince was usually so talkative. Being bested by the strange tricks of Earth's foes had clearly shaken him.
Your help today. Thank you for coming back.
I'm not one to be indebted to another. We're even now, that's all it was.
The prince needed to say something to save face, if only for himself.
I'm sure. You still don't understand that armor, do you? In the battle it stopped you from killing, so you still need work. I love my friends on the League, but they have a gallery of villains and rogues, each longer than I can remember, each obsessed with violence, with revenge. I, however, I do not. There are some who feel that way about me, but they are few. I detest seeing you in this cell. The Amazons do not take prisoners. We save people from their worst impulses. We believe in a greater life for all. I see potential in you. Your past need not define the path of your future. I believe you fought today because you wanted to help, but if your true intention was to escape, then that armor would have never let you leave the ground.
Or, now that I know how it truly works, I can simply push past it in the future.
That could be. I suppose there's only one way to know.
Wonder Woman held up the lasso of truth. Vegeta flinched at the sight of the glowing rope.
Don't you dare come near me with that vile thing!
I acted with anger before. That was wrong. There's nothing to fear from the truth. Trust me. Here, I'll leave this with you. Just be careful. Absolute truth is more powerful than you could ever hope to realize.
Wonder Woman draped the lasso across the cell bars and left Vegeta alone. It took some hours before he was able to move again, the armor finally letting up as his mind calmed and focused on the golden perfect that hung in his line of sight. Night came, and the prince did not sleep. He stared at the rope, unblinking till his vision blurred. The magic of this planet vexed him like no other. He hated it. Just another trick, things beneath a true warrior. But the words he spoke when last wrapped in it, they were his. He had tried to deny them for so long, to repress those thoughts because they seemed weak, but the words he heard today, the words of Darkseid, would not cease in his mind. The words were not from Darkseid's lips, only Vegeta's own thoughts. But that was the true horror of Darkseid. No matter how far from the god of evil he was, the tyrant resided in the darkest places of his soul, as is the case for every being. The words about Diana, however, hit the hardest. The prince was a true warrior. That's all he'd ever been since birth. Attachments were a weakness he did not suffer. Vegeta stared at the lasso of truth, and finally grabbed it.
I do not care for her. I do not care for her. I do not care for her.
Certain of his words now, Vegeta wrapped the lasso around his arm.
I do care for her.
The prince threw the lasso to the ground in anger. The armor began to increase in weight. The mix of his rage at the lasso and his attempts to lie, engaging its enhancements.
Fine. Darkseid was wrong about breaking me after all. I stand now a prince reborn. Why shouldn't I care? I'm the prince of all Saiyans. I'm owed someone like her after all. Yes, I deserve her.
Vegeta then looked down at the lasso. He was so certain of what he just said. All he wanted was confirmation. So he picked up the lasso again and wrapped it around his hand. He thought the words.
I deserve.
He felt the pull of the lasso as the words caught in his throat. But this was no bluster, no clever ruse. This was true. He was more than certain. It had to be true. He drove his energy up, trying to force the words out.
I deserve.
But still, they would not come. He could not complete the sentence. No matter how much he wanted this to be true, it seemed it was simply not.
I don't deserve her!
He was finally forced to admit as his energy left him, all expanded in an instant. The armor that had been steadily increasing in weight, buckling his knees and forcing him to the ground. But he didn't care. The lasso fell from his hands as a final truth escaped his lips. A truth that lifted a great weight from Vegeta. Not from his body, but from his soul.
I deserve nothing.
Faster than a speeding bulletin. Louder than a locomotive. Able to let you know what's up in a single sound. It's Up, Up, and Olsen! Brought to you by the Daily Planet Podcast Network. With your host,
Jenny.
Olsen!
Welcome, meat sacks, to my podcast!
It's ours, bud. Technically mine. It is called Up, Up, and Olsen, after all.
That was your mistake. Including "and" in any title has doomed your claim to ownership. It would belong to both Ups, whoever they might be. That's why we're renaming it right now!
Do you have any good titles? I kinda dig the Agents Orange, you know?
I have hundreds of the most amazing titles in the known universe and beyond!
Great, I'd love to hear some.
As if I would be fool enough to share them with you or our pathetic listeners. The titles are mine!
Of course. Well, maybe our pathetic listeners could give a few suggestions, huh?
Yes! Give us your comments and the likes I hear so much about! I demand you to give me your likes, but do not share!
No, please, we need the shares. They really help the show grow. Please share.
Well, if it will assist in what I want, fine, you have my permission to share.
Great Caesar's ghost, we've wasted so much time. I gotta get into that listener poll story. So, Larfleeze, old pal.
My age is considerable compared to you Earth creatures, yes.
Right. You mentioned Saiyans last time, so we put a poll out to the people about their thoughts on the 4 known Saiyans. Everyone loved Kakarot, who we still greatly miss. Vegeta, who's locked up tight on Themyscira, what a mood. Butch Boy Nappa, and thick thighs rule over our lives, Raditz.
I've been told by the chief that you're not to sexualize the alien space terrorists.
Chief threatened to dock your pay over that L piece again, so you're doing this to get in his good graces, Lois?
I can neither confirm nor deny. Oh God, I've become the thing I hate most. My father. I'm out.
I understand despising your own progenitors. My mother. Now that's a story.
Preach, goat man. Let me know when this wraps up so we can go buy you that dress, Jenny.
She's so cool. But back to the point at hand. The mustache and L'Oreal's next top model vanished off world shortly after they got brought back. Hashtag Illuminati confirmed. But we still have some super special leaks on the Prince of Vegetables himself. He gave the entire Justice League a tough battle, but what are your thoughts on him, Larfleeze?
I dislike miniature collectibles. They're too easy to misplace. That's why I ceased acquiring anyone below a certain height for my core.
Dark.
But enough about Saiyans! I already have an exclusive claim on the best one. What is this dress the road woman has promised you? How do I acquire one?
Oh, Lois and I were following up on this tip I got about an illegal gambling ring run by Calendar Man. But while we were on stakeout, Lois spotted this great dress. We both just had to try it on. I went first. Turned out it was Plastic Man in disguise. Before I changed, though, he and I got hit with this cosmic ray from outer space and sucked into a dimension filled with monkey vampires. Let me tell you, avoiding those little suckers and nothing but your undies? Ugh, gee, I felt like that one SpongeBob meme. But that's a different story.
I believe it's time to take that ad break you mentioned. Give me this ad now!
My name is Damian Wayne, and I am the rightful heir of Wayne Enterprises. I have assumed control of my father's empire in his absence. Board members said handing control of a multi-billion-dollar empire to a 10-year-old was reckless. So I fired them. I just wanted to take this time to reassure the thousands around the world working for Wayne Industries that I am a just and noble ruler. You will find me strict and without mercy to those who fail me, but for those who excel, I will grant you an opportunity to feed off of my magnificent aura and deeds, becoming a superior being by association. You're welcome, Gotham.
My uncle's third cousin twice removed works at Wayne Industries. Now he's working for a 10-year-old. It be like that sometimes, bro.
It do.
Hey, speaking of work, how you liking the job here at the old DP?
At first, I was extremely displeased with the accommodations. The pitiful desk I was given only had enough room for 420 of my pre-programmed jack-in-the-boxes. But after a negotiation with your chief, I have claimed this office dwelling as my own.
Yeah, that hostage negotiator had worked for the Metropolis PD for over 10 years. They said he really was their best. Sad you made him retire.
Pathetic! He should not have revealed how important the life of the chief was to him so early in negotiations.
Totes. So, how you liking the digs?
I have been unable to re-enter in the last few days. The door may succumb at any point in time to the weight of my collection.
Yeah, Office Pool says it'll hold a week at best. Lois lost when hour 1 passed.
I have learned from the example of my Saiyan to always push past limits. That door shall hold! Olsen! Larfleeze!
Well, that about wraps things up, folks. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of... Oh yeah, make sure to leave a comment so we can know what to call this show from now on.
Oh, God, why is it wet?
Lex Luthor is President of the United States. After the reported death of Kakarot Kent, and a dramatic increase in organized supervillain activity, I thought this year couldn't get any weirder. But the universe seems to be offended by my opinions and is determined to prove me wrong on almost a daily basis. So, here we are now. The Planet is one of the few papers not owned by LexCorp, a fact that lets you know what I'm about to say hasn't been bought. Luthor is honest. At the start of this campaign, he told us not to trust him. Every opportunity I've had to try and bring up his rumored affiliations with the criminal element haven't been suppressed. He's not gone so far as to admit to anything, but he's not running from his past. That's rare, and something I can't entirely condemn. What is concerning is he won in a landslide despite all of this. This may be an example of the American people believing in their heroes, in their Superman. But the cynic in me can't help but ask, after everything we've been through, does the world really need a Superman?
Unknown to his friends on Earth, the Super Saiyan was very much alive and had become known throughout the galaxy. A legend of old, reborn through the deeds of a lone warrior in a beat-up spaceship, planting seeds from a living world wherever he went, seeking the best challenges along his journey. He met up with some old friends. The bounty hunter, Lobo, crossed his path, and the two had their fated rematch. However, the drastic increase in Kakarot's powers caused Lobo to ask for a drink and a meal a little bit earlier than last time. After a few rounds, Kakarot asked what he'd been doing, to which Lobo told him of a hunt for a new figure making his name heard throughout the galaxy. Atrocitus, the Inversion, escaped from his bindings and now contained the entity of rage, the Butcher, beginning to form his own corps of Red Lanterns. Kakarot asked to tag along, and together they fought against the mighty Beast of Rage, who had learnt to harness the power of the Butcher on a scale never before seen in the universe. Kakarot became aware that in the aftermath of the Justice League's collection of the entities, their odyssey was now being told across the stars, with one particular detail being the most prominent. The entities could be controlled. Now, multiple lantern corps were being formed in all sectors of space, changing the course of history forever.
What say you, brother? Does the Super Saiyan seem a tad disappointing?
He's a pipsqueak, barely tall enough to eye my breast, even with that hair of his. The History Codex must have been greatly exaggerating his strength.
So, do you guys want to fight, or are you just gonna stand there and talk? It's pretty weird.
The time travelers Atlas and Samson came across Kakarot during his stay on the planet Ran, where he had saved the entire planet from being devoured by the solar shark. The pair challenged Kakarot to a bout, and were quickly shown that the history books don't quite tell you how a master's fist to the gut feels. In the end, there were no hard feelings, and the two left with a little bit more respect for older martial arts traditions. The next deed nearly cost the Saiyan his life. Two powerful species, the Thanagarians and the Tamaranians, decided to eventually form a truce once they had heard of the Super Saiyan entering their solar system. They wished to take revenge for all the crimes the Saiyans had committed against them in the past. Kakarot was in part happy for the challenge, but eventually just wanted them to knock it off. The leaders began to view the Saiyan as too powerful to destroy with conventional weapons, resorting to using an experimental device developed by the Tamaranians. One that would use nth metal to harness the power of their star into a single blast to destroy the martial artist. Unfortunately, the device failsafe malfunctioned and their star was turned black, drained of all its energy. Things seemed hopeless until the very men they had tried to kill volunteered to be sent into the star itself. The two racers reluctantly giving him a suit that would allow him to survive in the unforgiving conditions of space. Kakarot unleashed all of his energy at once, pushing the Super Saiyan form to its absolute limits of power, and then beyond them, until finally his power reignited a star. The Tamaranians and the Thanagarians now had possession of a Saiyan on the brink of death, rescuing him from the sun with their gravity manipulation technology, and they made a unanimous decision. Surprisingly, they nursed him back to health, and for the moment decided to honor the fighter that had saved them from their own revenge-filled path. The Super Saiyan was no longer the beast of death. From now until the end of time, their cultures would refer to the legend as the Warrior of Life. Not all his accomplishments would be positive, as Kakarot was sent through a deadly series of tests by the new god Metron, who wished to analyze the Super Saiyan firsthand. Kakarot became lost in a time schism, and only through strength of will fought his way back year by year, cementing the legend of the Super Saiyan not just throughout space, but time. How he escaped Metron is a story for another day. Kakarot's deeds were mostly combat related. Despite wanting to help, at his core he was still someone who sought the best challenges and wished to improve himself, but occasionally he would actually be a voice of reason in a dire situation. A rogue, fifth-dimensional princess was unable to control her immense reality-warping power, and would have succeeded in accidentally unwriting the multiverse, had Kakarot not been able to speak to her in simple terms, letting her focus and control her power through the freedom of imagination, escaping the fear of logic alongside the smiling Saiyan.
Thanks so much, Mr. Goku. Is there anything I can do to help you out?
Well, I've been trying to figure out how to get back to Earth for a while now.
Sure thing.
Unfortunately, from a fifth-dimensional perspective, one Earth was just as good as another, leading to the Saiyan encountering his female counterpart from another Earth. Her name was Caulifla. She and her girlfriend Kale fought Nazi spies in this bombshell of a universe.
Whoa, so that must mean you're me, but a girl! That's pretty funny!
What do you mean, funny?
Huh? Just, well, this whole place, I guess.
Funny how? What's funny about it?
Caulifla, I don't think he meant any harm by it.
Nah, Kale. He's a big boy. He knows what he said. What'd you say? Funny how?
Just...
What?
Just, you're funny.
You mean, let me understand this, cause, maybe it's me. I'm a little f***ed up, maybe. But I'm funny how? I mean, I'm funny like a clown? I amuse you? I make you laugh? I'm here to amuse you? What do you mean funny? Funny how? How am I funny?
I don't know. I didn't mean nothing.
No, I don't know how. You said it. How do I know? You said I'm funny. How the f*** am I funny? What the f*** is so funny about me? Tell me what's funny.
Your hat?
My hat. I'm pulling your leg, you marbleheaded maroon. My hat. You hear that, Kale? I like this guy.
While Kakarot's adventures were continuing in space, on the planet Earth, things were just as eventful. Steve Trevor approached Vegeta's cell. He hadn't seen the Saiyan since that battle on the beach of Themyscira, and he hated to admit it, but Diana was right about him. She was always right. The guy was a jerk, sure, but he did come back to help. Ultimately, though, since Steve Trevor was the victim of Vegeta's invasion of Earth, Wonder Woman left this next step up to him. And so, Steve opened the cell door yet again, feeling no less uneasy than he had the last time.
She's down on the beach. Says there's an opportunity waiting for you, but I had to let you take it.
Vegeta exited the dungeons and headed off to the same beach his most recent battle had taken place on.
Prince Vegeta, you have been given time. You have been shown mercy, and you have proven valor. Yet the people you wronged cry for your head because they have not been present to witness any of it, except for one, and he has granted this opportunity to you.
Well, at least the doorman's useful for something. What's all this nonsense about opportunity?
When Kakarot convinced me to spare your life, he rightly claimed you never had a chance to be anything better than you were. I have given you that chance, and now we shall see if you have grown from it.
Wonder Woman waved her hand, and suddenly Vegeta's restraining armor began to glow as its charms were removed temporarily. Vegeta was in shock, unable to believe what had just happened, but before he could react, Wonder Woman was charging at him. He blocked instinctively, and yet was still hit across the head by a rapid kick. Her assault was unrelenting. After a short time, the prince stopped trying to block and went back on the offensive. The two continued to clash for what seemed like forever, before they became locked in a grapple.
You've gotten stronger since our last battle.
Of course. I rarely trained for strength before, only precision, control. But since you've been around, well, between fighting the entire Justice League's villain roster and guarding you, all I've done is train.
I continue to be amazed by the results you can achieve on this backwater planet. However...
Vegeta erupted into a golden glow of energy, blasting Wonder Woman away. He stood smiling above her. The transformation was still novel to him, but he had no doubt. This was the legendary power he'd always dreamed of.
You've changed.
Changed into something no Earthling could imagine. Look now, Amazon, at a power beyond comprehension. The sleeper has awoken. The legendary Super Saiyan now stands before you.
It's
More powerful and glorious than you ever could have believed?
It's beautiful.
What?
Vegeta was taken aback, but this was no trick or tactic by the Amazon. The radiant glow of the hair, the increase in muscle mass, the emerald green hue of the eyes, they all suited him better. The darkness of them hiding in his soul was gone. She could see deeper into him now. While the prince was focused only on the new depths of Saiyan power, Diana was mesmerized. This form appeared almost divine to her. She asked when he achieved it.
After my battle here, you left that lasso with me. I confronted something deep within that night, and have unlocked the ultimate potential of my entire race.
If that is true, then you have passed this trial. I wanted to push you, unrestrained, to see if you still had ill intent. And it would seem that if you've kept this hidden our entire battle, then you are not the same invader that landed in Coast City those many months ago.
Vegeta knew she was right. He had arrived on Earth a slave, but now the prince had reclaimed both his pride and the power of his race.
Now, are you up to the next challenge?
And what is that?
Kakarot has been gone too long now. I hoped he may have survived, but it still stands that he has left a hole. The people of Earth are missing a champion. I challenge you to atone for your wrongs and become just that.
I'm a warrior, not some clown.
As was he. Believe me when I tell you that there exists no shortage of opponents for you to test your might against. You know cruelty is easy. I ask you to take on a greater challenge. Use this legendary power nobly. Do not squander it as you did in the past.
The two royals stared at each other, the tension rising. Diana was extending herself further than she had planned. Vegeta was surprised at himself. He could have overpowered her, but the truth he'd accepted gave him pause. Could this truly become his new life? No longer a slave to Darkseid, but a champion. Vegeta prepared to respond, but Diana's just sleek communicator sounded.
Diana, are you near TV? 'Cause you gotta see this.
With the help of Caulifla, Kale, and the other bombshells, Kakarot was able to return to his own universe, the male Saiyan teaching Caulifla a few martial arts moves and showing her the power of Super Saiyan, while the gangster taught Kakarot some colourful uses of the English language.
Yeah, I'll see you around, fella. Just you wait. Me and Kale are gonna have that Super Saiyan thing figured out faster than a cop runs into a donut shop first thing in the morning.
If you think we can, Caulifla.
I bet you will. Till next time.
However, due to the 70 plus years of galactic rotation, Kakarot was still light years away from Earth. Kakarot's next adventure could be seen as one of his most important. On a small mining colony, Kakarot had assisted the blind Green Lantern, Larfleeze, in freeing the slaves from the corrupt governor of the planet.
I've known a few Green Lanterns, but never seen one with a bell on their chest before.
What other corpse members do you know?
Kakarot talked about his friends from Earth and the latest Lantern he'd known, Kyle Rayner. Upon hearing the name, Larfleeze informed him of Kyle's location. With this new knowledge, Kakarot instantly headed in search of the Lantern, and after a few days of travel, he finally landed on what looked like heaven. A planet teeming with life, filled with strange creatures the universe had never seen before. Grand forests and oceans serve as the paint to create even grander masterpieces of artwork across the surface of the world. It was a haven. Everything that lived there was content. All except the lone figure sat atop a cloud in the sky. Here, Kyle was God, but to Kakarot, he was a friend in need of help.
Hey, buddy!
Okay, now I know I've lost it. I'm seeing ghosts.
I ain't see-through or nothing. It's really me.
It's really you?
Yep. Been a while, huh?
In a burst of pure joy, Kyle vanished and reappeared in a flash of violet light, hugging the man who taught him so much as tightly as he could.
I thought I'd never see you again. That you and Bruce... I missed you. I missed you so much, man.
Hey, it's alright. Everything's alright.
Kakarot consoled the distraught Kyle, helping one of the most powerful beings in creation cope with a simple hug. After the tears had mostly stopped, the two exchanged the details of what they had been up to while they were apart. How Kyle had become overwhelmed by the power of the White Ring. He'd stopped on a single dead asteroid, and now, months later, had turned it into an entire heavenly planet.
Part of me was hoping you being around meant Bruce would be too, but I guess he's really gone for good. When I brought everyone back the first time, the entities all spread out. I've still got the power, but the back to life part, I don't think I can do that anymore.
He'll always be with us, so don't worry. He helped both of us become what we were meant to be. Bruce was always pretty clever with stuff like that.
Maybe. I brought everyone back, and for a moment I felt at peace. This oneness with everything. I can't really describe it. But that feeling passed, and I realized just what I'd become. I kept thinking about everything. I suddenly could see the building blocks of creation, and...
Hey, Kyle, take a breath, buddy. Slow down a little.
Right. Well, I freaked out. I had to get away. Touching a dead soul and bringing it back to the living, it's not... I just couldn't deal. So I left Earth, and I've been here ever since. Kind of just making a world. Playing God.
Yeah, I saw a little bit in my ship. It's kinda lame.
Everyone's a critic.
The two laughed, Kyle feeling human again for the first time in months. Kakarot had been right about Kyle back in the fight against Rogol Zar. He didn't have anything new to teach him, but maybe they could help each other figure out what to do next. Not as master and student, but as equals.
So you have been keeping up with your meditation. Awesome! Let's practice the breathing after you show me how you make those constructs so easy.
I don't know if that'd work for you, but I guess I could maybe show you what each of the emotions' powers feel like.
Yeah!
Weeks passed, with the two learning and honing each other's powers. When they felt ready, Kakarot suggested a simple beam clash, a tug of war, pitting the legendary Super Saiyan against the all-powerful White Lantern. The two clashed in a beam struggle, Kyle using green will energy against Kakarot's chaos cannon. When Kakarot twisted his arms and made his beam bore into Kyle's, something was unleashed in the White Lantern. His will to win this clash was fed by his desire. His desire spurred on by a hope to impress. That hope strengthened by his bond with Kakarot, emphasizing with his love of battle. All of that crashed against a fear of disappointment, which sparked a rage of power. And suddenly, the green beam split into a rainbow of colors before turning bright hot white and completely overwhelming the Super Saiyan's power, stopping just close enough to knock Kakarot firmly on his butt.
Whoa! I've never seen nothing like it! I'm actually really relieved. For a while there, I was starting to think I'd never have a tough fight again.
You look really worn out. Maybe we should take a break.
Yeah. Good idea. I feel kinda dizzy. Could've sworn I could last a little longer than that, though.
Eventually, the two had one final meditation session, in which Kyle ended by standing tall, looking up to the stars.
Looks like you figured out what you want to do, huh?
There's a whole universe out there. One that's dying. Planets that have lost natural resources. Species on the brink. I think I can help with that. Like no one else really could.
The ultimate art project.
Yeah. One we can all keep adding to. I've just got to sketch the outline.
Kyle brought his hand out to shake, but Kakarot once again responded with a hug, which Kyle had a feeling would happen.
Right. Good luck, Master... Sensei?
That makes me sound old. How about just friend?
It was time to go back to Earth. After all, Kakarot had only 2 seeds from Mogo left. He planted one at his feet on this new world Kyle had created. Then, Kakarot powered up into his Super Saiyan form and closed his eyes. He placed his palm onto his heart. This is what Kyle had helped him unlock. The final key to what he saw Kendra do so long ago now. Teleportation. Seemingly exclusive to the Star Sapphires. But Kakarot knew nothing was exclusive. A skill is a skill. You can break it down and understand it, changing it to match what you need. What he struggled with was finding the source of power. Love still needed to be the fuel, but with so long spent away in space, away from home, he did find his mind wandering to one person in particular, and in a flash of violet, the Super Saiyan vanished, and appeared next to Lady Shiva, who was currently working the fields of Kent Farm. She had stuck to her promise, looking after the land and cattle in light of Kakarot's absence. The news of his rumoured death not altering her commitment to the vow. She took to the work with as much pleasure as any of her pursuits. Many who feared her would think such things beneath her, but to Lady Shiva, it was something new, a skill in of itself. One as old as humanity, and one she wanted to know if she could conquer. Her other business ventures still continued, but the farm was the place the majority of her time had been spent.
It worked! Alright! Yo, Shiva!
Kakarot Kent, you live. And from the look of you, it seems you found the answer to who it was you wanted to be.
Yeah, honestly, I almost messed up big. But I think I get what you meant before. What I have now isn't perfect, but I think this Super Saiyan power can be made to fit where I want to go.
Super Saiyan. These names amuse me. What I see here is the same, no matter what race or culture calls it. Your eyes reveal it to me. Enlightenment.
Thanks for taking care of things, by the way. Looks like you did a really great job!
Kakarot looked over Shiva's shoulder, seeing a rather oddly deep ditch behind where she was standing.
What's with the hole, though?
I'm expecting company tonight.
Before Kakarot could question further, Shiva's phone began to buzz. She liked to keep tabs on politics, given it often informed who'd been hiring her next. She looked to find that President Lex Luthor was giving his inaugural speech, which Kakarot took an interest in, popping his head on Shiva's shoulder to watch what was happening.
Thank you, thank you. I stand before you all today for one reason: the truth. Above all, I've always valued honesty. Honesty of intentions. That's something you've all supported me for. No matter what, you always know where you stand with Lex Luthor. Now, given that, I also believe that the truth can be twisted, perverted, and used as a weapon by those jealous enough to stoop that low. But I also remember that it didn't always used to be that way, and that we, as a country, have to strive to be better than those around us. So to my opposition, who portrays me as a racist, sniveling caricature, I can only say this: meet my son.
Hello. I'm I'm Superboy.
Superboy is a Saiyan. That's right. The people that attacked us. A group of bloodthirsty warriors who would send their own infants off into space to die. I found him in a crashed ship. A baby, barely holding on to his life. For the last 11 years, I've made it my responsibility to care for and raise this child as my own. Due to the many enemies I face in my career as Superman, I kept the boy's identity secret to protect him. But now, I've discovered something else. He's not just a Saiyan, but one of staggering power. One of biblical proportions. The Super Saiyan. Knowing this, having been elected to represent the people, I now need to focus 100% of my attention on the matters of state. Superboy is family, and I believe with his help, we can make a real difference. That's why I will only be Superman in moments of global threat, and protecting the people of Metropolis will be Superboy.
I have seen the world as it is. I've seen all the pain and suffering people inflict on each other, while others with abilities sit back and let it happen, refusing to bring real change. Maybe I'm too young, maybe this is all just a silly dream, but I believe dreams drive us. Dreams lift us up from the dirt and transform us. To everyone listening, I swear, until Lex Luthor's dream of a world where respect, order, and justice becomes the reality that we all share as one, I will never, ever stop fighting.
You heard the boy. The Super Saiyan exists, and he is American.
Hey folks, Geek for Fun here. I just want to take a moment to thank you all for sticking with this series for as long as you have. We've just finished up our 4th saga, which is it's pretty insane. We've been at this for a while, and DBDC is going to take a little bit of a break. Now, before you worry, we're just doing this so we can make sure that our next saga, which is going to be our biggest, best, longest, just everything by far, gets done to the quality that the story, which we've written all out, we've got all the story ready, gets done to the quality it deserves. But, although DBDC will be taking a break, if you're on Patreon, you'll get to see this next week, but for people who are public, the thing you've all been waiting for is coming back.
It's the city. There's just so much chaos just bubbling under the surface.
It's like you say, there isn't a soul in Gotham who keeps controlling the city.
It isn't human. I heard it from Bill that it took out 7 guys last week.
Wait, what? What is that thing?
I have heard tales of a Batman from Gotham.
Never seen anything move like that.
A man-beast who strikes from the shadows with uncanny skill.
Get the hell away from me!
You're not going to die. Your soul is another matter.
Can you believe the people in this town?